Hey, Jay.
Hey, good morning, Natalie.
Good morning to you, sunshine. How are you doing today?
I'm having a great morning.
You know why?
Why?
Because we get to talk to Cleo Booker today.
Oh, I'm so excited. I knew she was going to be here. I'm so glad she showed up.
Wait a second. Cleo, do you use Cleo Lightfoot Booker? Is it Cleo
Cleo
Booker?
Booker is good.
Cleo
Okay. All
Booker's
right.
good. So Cleo is awesome. I have known her for, like our grandmother would say, many, many moons. Many, many moons. And we have Cleo in the house today to do her confession about her caregiver journey. And oh, it's so good. So, Jay, I would love for you to tell everybody
It's
about
my
our friend
turn.
Cleo.
I get to talk.
Yay! Everybody knows JJ doesn't talk.
I know. So we have, as Nellie said, Dr. Cleo Booker with us today, and she is a nationally known licensed clinical psychologist from Richmond, Virginia. She has led one of the largest behavioral health clinical teams in the country and has held all kinds of positions in executive leadership with the state government, the federal government, and the private sector. Today, she's with Forge Health, one of the fastest growing private companies in the country. Now, as a young child, Cleo was exposed to mental illness, substance abuse, and co-occurring medical conditions. But what she saw with that has changed her life. And that's really what defines how she sees the world today. Cleo, we are so happy to have you here. She is gonna kind of give us the insight because it started, you say really young. Like that is when your experience, when everything you started seeing it really young.
Yes. Yeah.
So Cleo, we are happy to have you. Why don't you tell us, like, okay, you were born and then skip to the caregiving part.
Are you sure you don't want to hear my entire life
There was
story?
that one time in third grade when
that boy stole my candy
and I didn't get the snack that I needed. And that was the turning point.
That's exactly how it went. No, thank you so much for inviting me to be on the podcast. I'm really excited to have this opportunity to laugh with you all, and hopefully we don't cry because I don't like to cry in public. But
okay.
if the tears start flowing, it comes, but hopefully it won't. I will be consciously trying to hold it back. But no, from an early age, I had the opportunity, and at the time, I probably thought it was a very unfortunate opportunity. But as I got older, and because I've had those life experiences, I've been able to use a lot of my experiences. But when I say as an early child, as early as I can remember, and that's probably around age 8 is when you really start to remember kind of your memories. I was exposed to odd behavior is sort of like in the eyes of a child, odd behavior. Yeah. My grandmother would be, talking to people in a corner, and I didn't see that person in the corner. I just thought that was weird. I'm like, okay, I love you, grandma. That's really weird. I remember she loved her stuffed animals. They were like her children. And this is my grandma. She had hundreds of stuffed animals on her couch. At the time, I did not know what those stuffed animals represented to her, but she really meant they were like her children. My father as well as some other family members struggled in his life. He was a veteran, found coping in drug use. I would often, see some of his odd behaviors around the house. He would disappear for a couple of days. And all I knew was my mom was trying to do her best, trying to manage all those situations. She was trying to take care of my grandmother, trying to take care of her 2 girls. I have an older sister that grew up in the house with me. And then, she was trying to also be a good wife and take care of her husband. And at the time, I didn't see it as sick. I saw it as odd behavior. It was really all odd, and nobody talked about it. So I didn't know what was going on. So that's sort of like the childhood gist of, what I saw. But it was all throughout my family and where I, grew up as a child. It wasn't the best neighborhood. So even when I stepped outside of my door, I would see people walking down the street talking to themselves, or, just hygienics were not well kept. I saw the same person sitting on the sidewalk, like, why don't they ever go home? In my mind, that was the question to me, like, why don't they ever go home? Why aren't they bathing? Why are they dirty? You know, those were sort of the questions. It was constant questions kind of growing up as a child, because it really wasn't explained. I didn't know why as a child, I was expected to just roll with it, adapt with it, and support my family where needed. So if I needed to sit in the car and shut up and be quiet, that's exactly what I did. And I didn't ask no questions.
That's exactly right. You're going to get a beating. Yeah, it's going to the slap.
Yeah. That's when it was still legal. In Tennessee, at a minimum, it was a full on, we've been the sit still girls. And I think about you leave the car running and the girl, and we sit in the back seat. And I could remember our dad saying, all right, sit still. And we're all like, we're not moving.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
So why, I'm just curious why, and this is similar with us, there are so many things in families that you just don't discuss.
No.
Why do you think there was just no discussion around it with your family? Obviously, everyone knew that there were these mental health issues. Why wasn't it discussed, Cleo?
Yeah. So, if you can't tell, I am a Black woman.
For those
not watching YouTube,
listening. But I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to see her photo, and she is that photo is on point. We talked about that photo's on point. So anyway, if you want to see what Cleo looks like as well, come on over to the YouTube channel.
So I am a African-American Black woman. Where my original childhood started, because we did move from the city to sort of like the, suburban eventually. But in the city, it was a primarily African-American community. And I bring that up because within certain communities, especially the, Black community, we did not talk about mental illness. It was odd behavior. It was look away. It was don't ask questions. Something's wrong with them. Every term that you could think of, crazy, except the actual terms, which is they're sick and they're struggling with a mental illness and they need mental help. It's not something that you talk about. It's seen as a weakness. It's better now. I think, we're talking almost, over 30 years ago at this point. So I'm thankful that within the United States, especially, we are now recognizing mental health as an actual formal illness or another part of your health system that you must take care of. Yeah. But I grew up when it wasn't talked about in the Black community. It just wasn't recognized. It was seen as a weakness. It was seen as you need to learn how to just get over it, snap out of it. Snap out of it. Stop doing, those substances. Why can't you stop? Stop talking to people that aren't there. Just snap out of it. And so it wasn't talked about because it just wasn't recognized. It wasn't a thing. It wasn't recognized as a thing. So all I was left with as a child was curiosity, not understanding, and expected to behave.
Wow.
I think it's culture matters. I think where you grow up, I think, generational. And when you think about the beliefs and what we talk about and what our families teach, and they pass on from generation to generation about what we think about things. That's a perfect example about how do we talk about things? And you're right. It's not, for a lot of places, still not accepted.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's almost like willful. Like you're just being willful. Like you don't want to, why are you depressed? Well, just get over it, or just go outside, or, it feels very simple. And nobody says, oh, well, you've got cancer. Nobody says to a person who has cancer to get over it, or Parkinson's,
to get over it,
or Alzheimer's. Can you imagine the Alzheimer's?
Oh, your liver's failing. Get over it.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Oh, okay. It's so true. And I think, when we talk about mental illness, I think mental illness is very much like certain disabilities, the invisible, like PTSD. We think about our veterans, and we think about individuals who have PTSD, and mental illness falls like schizophrenia, and you have all these different things. You can't see it. And if it's not tangible, and it's funny, even though, if you've got, I wonder about, like, with cancer is associated as a thing. Like, you know what I mean? Yes. It feels thingish. Like, But I wonder, it's those invisible illnesses that people can't really see or don't understand, or they're scared of. You know, part of me wonders if they're scared of.
Oh, definitely.
So
Yeah.
I think that's really hard. So let me ask you this. Okay, you said you have two other sisters. What birth order are you in?
I am the youngest.
Oh,
the
she's the baby.
I am the baby.
That's just as we say it.
The baby.
Yeah.
Emily would appreciate that. Emily would be sitting here with this big grin on her face, like, yes, welcome to the crowd.
Yes, I am the baby.
So what's the age difference, if you don't mind, with you and your sisters?
Yeah, so actually I have three other sisters. My oldest sister actually passed away when I was a child. Okay. So we had that on top of everything.
So you have loss.
Yeah.
Grief and loss.
Yeah. And then my I guess middle sister did not grow up with us. So my oldest passed away, and then after her is another one. And we did not find her until probably we were all like married with like having kids. Like it was like adulthood when we found her and realized that she was in existence. So the sister that I grew up with in my household, we are about 4 years apart. Yeah, so we were really close. But at the same time, distant.
Well, let me ask, did you, because we talk about sisters and how we talk about things, were you all as sisters, did you talk about these things? Did you say, hey, did you see grandma talking to the stuffed animals? Did you discuss that?
No.
Wasn't safe even with her. Okay.
Well, we just didn't, it's like, that's weird. It was just weird. It was just odd. And we just kept it going because we've seen it all our lives, and it was just something that grandma did, and we just was like, oh, okay. We still loved her. It was just weird. Now that we're older, and as we kind of grew into like adulthood and became more communicative, we like talk about it. We even can chuckle about some of the things.
Right.
Even my husband being introduced into the family was a funny situation because my family didn't talk about it. So I didn't give him the heads up because I'm so used to my grandmother, and she was diagnosed with schizophrenia. So it was the name to what she was experiencing was schizophrenia. But even when my husband came out to eat with us at a buffet, I remember the first time he was with my entire family, and he sat right next to my grandma, and she leans over to him and she's like, hey, do you see that guy standing over there in a corner? And he's like, what guy? She's like, right there, the purple shirt on, right there. He's about to pee. And my husband looks at me and he's like, do you see a guy standing in the corner about to pee? And I was like, I'm so sorry. I forgot to tell you, but I thought it was the funniest thing. It was so funny because I was like, oh, snap. Like, I forgot to tell you this really important thing.
Surprise.
It's funny how it's become normalized. Yeah. You normalize it.
It is. Yeah. I mean, because I was around it all my life. And I think that's what makes it so easy for me to, work within psychiatric hospitals now and talk to people because, they are who they are. They see what they see. I'm a clinician that do not challenge when people say they see certain things. I just help them figure out how to cope in this world with their diagnosis. It's the same as regular healthcare, as medical healthcare, right? You don't tell someone that you don't have cancer, your liver isn't failing. You teach them how to continue to move on in this world while dealing with that illness. So anyways, it's and that's one of my dreams is for people to see mental health and mental illness as normal. It's a normal part of life. Some people struggle with it more than others.
Yeah. As a child, when you're going through that, were you afraid of it? Was there ever times when there was fear of it, or did you say to yourself, am I going to be like that? Was there ever any concerns as you grew up?
Yeah. The substance use I was afraid. Substance use, I think, changes a person's personality quickly, swiftly, unexpectedly, and it can be very scary. So that was the piece that was fearful of me, and that's where I didn't understand. And that's where I felt myself just being quiet and, doing what I'm supposed to do, because I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know why one moment everything was great, and then the next moment, there was, paranoia or yelling or, things like that. So that was very, very fearful. The, mental health kind of challenges with my grandmother and others, no, I never was really fearful. But I will be honest that growing up, the reason why I was so afraid to touch any drugs was because I saw those two things. I saw my family with drug use, and then I saw my family with a mental health challenge. And I was afraid that if I would dabble and play around like I saw some of my friends, that I wouldn't be able to come back from it because of what I was exposed to.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, and even to this day, I'm very mindful of my stress levels. I'm very mindful of when I feel like I can't focus, or if I feel overwhelmed, because I know that is in my family history. And although I'm like way past the age of when I could have my first psychotic break, it's still fear. It's almost like, and I have family too that struggled, that had Alzheimer's and have passed away from Alzheimer's. And when you know of that stuff in your family history, it's just a natural part to like be afraid that one day it's going to happen to you. And so the best thing you can do is just be aware, to try to take care of yourself, be as mindful as possible, look out for those triggers and so forth. But yeah, definitely still to this day, it's something that I'm afraid of. Yeah.
I think it goes with just having that awareness. I think when you understand yourself, I think, and having that, and I think for caregivers, it's the same thing. I talk about it. We talked about it in the past. Like, if you understand your triggers, you will then know how to be able to fully care for the person that you're caring for. Because inadvertently, because it's one thing to be like, you have relationships, but they're beyond a parent-child relationship. There's some distance between them. Do you know what I mean? There's husband and wife, there's still a little bit of distance. But I can tell you, like for me, when I started taking care of Jason, the whole dynamic changed. And then you add in, and what I don't think I realized personally is how stressful it was on our relationship, on me, with that complex where he had cancer. When you add in those pieces, you have new stressors that impact you, where things that might have not bothered you in the past crawl right up you. It's like, whoa, that's hard. And so I think that's really important, to have that level of awareness. And I don't know that our society is always like saying, hey, let's attach this kind of your body's response to this emotion. And all the emotions are meant to inform you of how you are from a wellness kind of feel.
That's so true. It's so true. And even now, as I'm like a mother and taking care of my kids, if I'm not tuned in, I will find myself just exploding. And my kids are looking at me like, oh, she's crazy. I'm like, that's probably how I was looking at people when I was younger. But like, I do know this about myself, that like, the littlest thing will just kind of like get under my skin, and I take a step back and I'm like, whoa, Cleo, you're tripping right now. Like, like calm down. But it's always the look from my kid's face that kind of puts me back into my place. Like, whoa, that's an overreactive response. My husband, he's very calm. So nothing ever kind of gets him like, frazzled, which is probably why we've been together for so long, because he can deal with my like weird outbursts. And he's like, okay, like his face stays just like this. Like, no. But my kids, though, I look in their eyes, it's like a reminder, literally like, oh, Cleo, you need to check yourself, like you're tripping right now. And you're really not upset with them. You're just like overwhelmed. But it's something that people can use in daily life, just kind of being mindful of like, when you feel confused, like all of a sudden, like, why is your memory, like, why do you feel like your memory is failing? Like, is it really your memory is failing, or you're just trying to remember too much? Because our mind does give out. And it's really important as a caregiver too, because you could find yourself just, letting your frustrations go on people, and it has nothing to do with them. It's just that you need to take a step back. Everybody needs a break. You can't continue to care for others if you're not taking care of yourself.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
like taking you to church right there. So
Amen.
It's the
yeah, it's
truth.
exactly
That is
right.
an amen.
That was a church moment. So, I want to go back kind of like to like where your grandmother was and kind of thinking about the caregiving journey, because I know you and I both lean into mental illness, and it's so funny because caregiving and mental illness, they do interact with each other, because as caregivers, you need to be super aware of your mental illness and or mental health, not mental illness, your mental health, and know that you can dip up and down in between. It's, well, I've never been depressed in my life. Well, welcome to caregiving. It can absolutely throw you into some different states that you're not used to. And that doesn't mean that you're sick for the rest of your life. Everybody has this fear of like, oh, I don't want to have mental illness forever. Again, there's so much stigma around it, but
so much.
So I think that, it's important for folks to understand, and this is where the reluctant caregiver comes in. It's just like you feel overwhelmed and you have all these thoughts. And so I think as a caregiver, did you ever feel, because before we get to that, as a child, kind of looking back and as you're growing up, as you're getting older, so you said that you were younger when your grandmother, when you first kind of started realizing that kind of memories that you're remembering around at age 8, as you're going into high school, like what are the things that you're doing to help caregiving with your mom? Because it sounds like your mom was trying to support your grandmother and support your dad. And are there things that you get inserted into caregiving duties?
Yeah. So my mom is a freaking rock star. I love my mother. She is the example of what it means to be a strong woman in my eyes. So when I wake up every day, and she knows this, I think of, if my mother could do it for so long, I know I can do this. She worked at the post office, had to get up at like 3:00 in the morning. I remember, and even to this day, because I used to hear her get up, sometimes I find myself waking up at 3 a.m. because of like hearing her wake up at 3 a.m. when I was a child. She woke up at 3 a.m., went to work, started work by 3:30. I mean, would take care of me, my sister, my dad, my grandma, my aunts, my uncle. She was the family caregiver. She took care of everybody. And even still to this day, she is the family caregiver, still taking care of a lot of my family that has now, grown older and is in nursing homes. Like she's everybody's like, power of attorney, and she knows everybody's medications. And I bring that up because I was so upset with my family as a child, because I felt like they were working her too hard. And I remember having so many conversations with her from middle school, high school, college, even graduate school, where I was telling her to slow down, like stop taking care of everybody. You need to take care of yourself. The thing is, though, she was good at it. So back to my grandma. My grandmother only was hospitalized one time in her entire life. And if anyone's kind of familiar with schizophrenia, you typically have a higher readmission pattern of going back and forth into the hospital. It is very unusual for somebody with schizophrenia to only have to be hospitalized one time.
Wow.
She was hospitalized one time, and we were able to keep her in the community and living with her family and with us. And I give that all to my mother. Like she was the primary caretaker of my grandma. So at the time growing up, I actually was upset because she would take care of my grandma. She was going to my aunt's house. I was dropped off at my aunt's house to like help clean, so from an early age, I had to like figure out like, how to press and iron clothes. At the time, there was hardly no AC in the houses. So I'm like stuck in the top low, sweating bullets, ironing clothes. But it was because they needed our assistance. And my mom couldn't be in all these different places. And so she utilized me and my sister. So, I remember learning some of my first dance moves while we were cleaning houses. So we managed to have fun through it all. But a large portion of me just sitting in the car, being quiet, cleaning up people's houses. They paid me. That was a good thing. That's probably the only reason why I agreed to do it. But cleaning up people's houses. Exactly. Cleaning up people's houses, it was the go with the flow. It was what my mother needed at the time. And although I grew up very upset, I did get to a point like, years ago where I looked at her and I was like, this is your purpose. Like God has put you, I truly believe that God put certain people on this earth to be caregivers. And this is her purpose, and it makes her happy and she's good at it. And although I think that she's tired and she needs to slow down, she really enjoys taking care of people. And it kind of rubbed off on me now. I may not be a caregiver of, older adults at this point. My mom is still really independent, which I'm so fortunate about. Like she did all that work. She's been through so much and she's still doing really well, but I am well prepared and ready. And she gave a great example for when I do need to jump in and take care of her. Oh yeah, like hands down, she is going to be well taken care of because that is what she deserves. And then also, because I was exposed to caregiving early on, I had to, some of my cousins were developmentally disabled. I had to learn how to change Pampers. That was some of the assistance that I was providing. My mom would drop us off. Oh. We would kind of take care of our cousin that had a developmental disability. That's when I just kind of fell into like this mental health world, right? As a teenager, I did also struggle with my own kind of mental health needs. Fortunately, I felt comfortable talking to my peers about it. And that's when I kind of fell in love with like, okay, you can have these struggles, but if you talk to somebody, then it actually helps. And so that's where it kind of led me into a career of like psychology. But yeah, it's almost like at the same time I was exposed to substance use, mental illness, developmental disability. I saw a strong caretaker that was my that was my rock. That was my example. And still to this day, she is my example. And, I wake up and I'm like, if she can do it, I can do it. And I think that's what really kind of led me to this path of, being in the mental health field and the healthcare space, trying to take care of others.
Hey, ladies, I need to interrupt for just a second to share about the Sisterhood membership. It's basically a sale every day. And the best part, it's free. Here's the details. We're partnering with our friends at Benefit Hub and other care partners to save you money. With over 200,000 participating companies across the U.S. and abroad, you'll find discounts at your favorite local stores, huge savings on vacations, amazing deals on home, auto, and supplemental insurances, and everything in between. Go to confessionsofareluctantcaregiver.com to sign up, and then definitely tell your friends about it. They can join too. Trust me, there's a discount for everyone. And don't forget, it's free. Okay, back to confessing.
We talk with people a lot about empathy as well. Do you think that it has given you a sense of empathy for a lot of other people to be able to look at them and say, to have that feeling for everyone, regardless of if they're family or if they're just complete strangers, people that you work with?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Like you said, I see it when we were talking about my grandmother and schizophrenia. It's like a normalcy thing for me, right? And I think that is the sense of empathy that I have. Like I don't see it as something's wrong with someone because they're struggling with any sort of health issue. So when I say health issue, I'm meaning mental health as well. I don't see it as like, they did something wrong in their life. I just see it as we are here, the people that can help. It is our responsibility to help them. Now, I'm not saying that it's always easy.
No,
because we all get tired.
Oh, yeah.
And living that life of trying to always help people, it's a very exhausting life. But my reminder is my mother. So I always tell myself, if she can do it, I can do it. Oh. But it is very exhausting. Sometimes, some days I just want to be like, no, I don't want to advocate for anybody except myself.
Yes. And you know what, though? I'm going to say this. Okay. You are allowed to say, today, I'm just going to need to advocate for myself, because that's when your kind of emotional wellness bucket is getting towards empty. Like I have nothing left to give, and I'm at that point, and that level of self-awareness to say, I can't care. I mean, trust me. I mean, I talk to people every day, lots and lots. I know you do too. And when I go on vacation, I go on vacations where I don't have to talk to anybody. Although everybody knows that anytime I travel, I make besties everywhere. The people we interviewed for our last confessions, I met on a plane.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
like, come. So, but I mean, you can feel that feeling when you're tired. And I think having that self-awareness to respect what your body is telling you, like, hey, you need a break. If it's 15 to 30 minutes, if it's a couple of hours, do something like Saturday, me and the Hallmark Channel. It was Christmas in July. I was on that biscuit. That is my guilty confession. And I'm sitting here and then I happen to see something, as I said yesterday, then I see a cruise, like Norwegian's doing a cruise with the Hallmark next year. And I'm like, what?
The best of both worlds.
Somebody, Calgon, take me away. So I think that's, it's so funny because that's so important. The one thing that I know that is important that in your life that we haven't touched on that I also think potentially is, it's very important to us is how your faith impacts this. Because if you think about it, you have a servant heart, and a servant heart really is from where we grew up in the church, and we're told to care for the widows and the orphans in its most basic context in the Bible. But how do we care for others? How do we make our community better? And so how does your faith, and especially, I just have a feeling your mom was your mom a faithful woman?
Yes. Yeah, she was. She was a faithful woman. She is a faithful woman. Yeah. And we struggled going to church because we were taking care of everybody. Yeah. So although she wanted to be in church every single Sunday, we just couldn't because at the time we needed to take care of my other grandma who had a stroke, or we needed to visit an aunt, or, like I said, she was the caretaker and we just was there to support her. We just rode around, was quiet, and, helped where we could. However, she still taught me how to pray. I knew all about the Bible. We went to church when we could. And there was a point where I found myself kind of branching off once I was able to drive, right? Once I was a teenager, got my own license, and I was able to take my own self to church and kind of get more involved. And I struggled for a period of guilt where I was separating myself from the, taking care of others and feeding my soul with the Spirit. But I believe everything that I've been through has been orchestrated by God. Yeah. Every single point in my life. I know that my early experiences of being afraid because of what I witnessed, being confused, wanting to know more, all of that was orchestrated by the God that I believe in and has led me up to this point now. And I believe that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So that's the other thing. So even though I may be tired, because I know that he's orchestrating my steps, it's going to be okay, right? It's going to be okay. He wants me to experience all these things so that I may, eventually impact larger populations. So my faith is also kind of like my rock, what I go to. It is what keeps me grounded in the middle of the day. There are several times throughout the day where I will just pause and pray, or just pause and say, Lord, help me. Lord, help me. Those 3 words, I say it all the time throughout the day. When I'm driving, Lord, help me. Believe it or not, that's a prayer. That's a simple prayer.
It is. There's my amen right there. It's usually with a hand raise, Cleo, like, Lord, help me. It's JJ, Lord help me.
I'm more Jesus, take the wheel, because I'm please do not let me talk. Because if I open my mouth right now, I don't know what's going to happen.
Right? Yeah. I know.
It's be calm and find peace. And so, for some of our folks, people have different things that help ground them. For us, it's our faith. Faith is what got me through, and finding that faith. I whatever you choose to believe in, I think for me, it has to be something more than nothing. There has to be, there's a purpose, there's a reason we're here. And so doors open for a reason, doors close for a reason.
Yeah.
These hard things that happen to us, the hard things that happen to you as a child, especially if you think about it, growing up and watching this, and your mom's purpose also was to be the role model to you, because look at what you do now, the impact on the lives. You've taken your mom and you've amplified that, what she's taught you, and amplified that to like, oh, I'm going to get tearful. Like thousands of people, the lives you touch, Cleo, is just you are an extension of that, of your mom's hard work, your servant heart, of God's good grace. And that is a privilege. Like, you've been given it's a heavy burden, but you do it and you wear it well.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. You're so right. I mean, if it wasn't for God, my mom probably, like, I think he's keeping her. Like I said, she's fortunate to still be very healthy, and she's been through so much. Yeah. She handled so much. And so once again, I watch what God has done for her, and I'm trusting that he's going to do the same for me. And I truly believe that as long as my trust and my faith stays there, then he will continue to watch generations after me. So a lot of people will also know that everything that I do is for future generations, right? Yeah. Because I believe what she did was for future generations. Like, she role modeled that so that I could see, so that my sister could see, like, this is what it's supposed to be. And so now I'm trying to do the same for the next generation. This is what it's supposed to be. We can't be afraid to talk about mental health. We can't be afraid to be, truthful with our feelings, lean on God, help others, and make sure that you're very aware of like your mind, because your mind will impact your health too. So anyways, God is at the core. He's doing it all.
I love it. So I'll just say amen at the end of that one. So I will say the other thing is that, I'm going to go back a little bit, because I know we go back and forth. So you graduate from high school, you're out of high school, and you go to college. Mm-hmm. Did you go far away from your mom? Did you, because I mean, you're clearly, you got the mama, you love the mama. And so did you go away? How far, and that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Because is there guilt because you helped your mom? You've been helping your mom to support the whole tribe, because you know what I mean? Like Bruce Perry talks about, we were all, 250,000 years ago, we were all in tribes, and like, we have a tribe as well. Like, we've got probably 40 people in Tennessee. That's our people. Our people, like when they'd say, "Oh, your people," our people are big, and we were the only. All three of us moved away. We went to college 4 hours away, and I think part of that was a little bit of self-preservation, to be honest with you.
Exactly. I love the honesty. Because I went 6 hours away, and a little bit of that was to escape. Yeah. And like I said, when I started driving and I started not doing everything that everybody else was doing sort of on Sundays, which was either like resting or taking care of others, and I started to kind of separate and go to church. Even when I left to go to college, I felt guilty, but my mother, she did talk to me, and I told her I felt guilty for going away. And even to this day, I am not as involved. Like, she's still taking care of people, and she allowed me to stay a little separated so that I can take care of my family, and I can do the other things that I'm focused on. But that guilt is real. Like, I feel like I'm supposed to be doing more. But she also has a similar story where she had an opportunity to go away to college. She studied psychology. And she had a full ride to go away and get her master's degree, and decided to stay back and take care of her family. And she did not want me to do that. And so because we had that conversation, it helped me, kind of get rid of that guilt a little bit, but it's still there. You can't fully you always want to, when you see somebody pouring themselves out to help the family, you feel obligated as well. But that guilt is real. It was real. It still exists.
It eats you up.
It does. It does. Yeah. And then my sister, I can see, is very similar. My older sister that I grew up with, the 4-year apart sister, she's very similar to my mother. where like I see that she enjoys caregiving. She will hop in a second and where do you need help? What can I do? Do I need to run to the store? Like, you know, her caregiving is hands-on, like, right. And so while I was away at college, she was still helping my mom. And I was like, oh my goodness, like it was eating me up. But my mother continued to remind me, like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Right. Like, you know, we got this here. It's okay. And even still to this day, she is very aware and does not try to pull me into some of the caregiving activities that she's doing with the family, because I have my hands full with my 3 little boys.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
and even the dogs are boys.
And my dogs are boys,
you know,
and they're hyper. They're tons of energy. But then also she sees that, like, I may not be direct hands-on caregiving, but I am definitely taking everything that I learn and trying to share it with the masses in as many different ways as I know. So yeah, it's but the guilt is real. It's hard to stay away.
I think this is where we talk about giving people permission to talk about what they feel guilt about. I mean, I have a lot of, I always like to say, oh, I don't regret anything, choices I've made, but it wasn't really until caregiving. I may feel bad for what I said, but I'm talking about regret. There are things, when I became a caregiver for my husband, there are things I regret. And that I wish that go beyond the words, the things that I wish I had done a little bit differently. And so I think that it's really important for people to understand. You said, you know, I've got some guilt because my sister, she jumps in, and I jotted down tangible versus emotional, the transactional support that caregivers and caring for the caregivers. You care for your mom. You probably support, like, through phone calls and talking to her. I know you talk to your mom all the time. I've already decided that. And so I'm like, I already know you talk to your mom and you know what's going on. And she probably filters it so that she doesn't want you to worry, because she for you. And she's going to tell what your sister did, but not with the intent of saying you're not doing enough. It's just to help you feel included. Included as part of it, so that you and you know yourself, you're giving emotional support to the people. And as a long distance, because your family lives. Do you live close to your family, or do you live far away?
Now we all live close. You came back I came back. I went away for a long time, like 11, 12 years. I stayed away. And then I came back. Yep.
Do you think in that time away, and this is where we've noticed from children who were grew up in caregiving kind of situations, especially like crisisy kind of, like, unusual, not just you dealing with your siblings. Do you think you had to go away to find yourself? So you
definitely
come back so you could come back confidently, knowing yourself, your boundaries, so that you knew you could provide best support.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, if you follow the story, a lot of my childhood was confusion. Like, I was confused and I just wanted to know and understand. And I would be really honest with you that it didn't all click. I mean, I was well into adult years where it became clear, right? Like, and I was no longer confused about what I experienced, my own thoughts and feelings. Like I said, I was angry. And I needed to get away in order to, like, separate myself from all of those feelings and emotions. And it, you know, I still remember the time period where it was probably when I started having children, to be honest with you, so not that long ago, 10 years ago, where it became kind of like, I don't know if I just matured and I was like, all right, like, and then my spiritual connection became stronger. And I was like, there's certain people, you know, that are orchestrated here on this earth to do certain things. And it calmed me so much in regards to easier for me to be around my family and not feeling guilt, but not feeling angry that people took my mother away from me, because that's how I felt. I felt like because she was taking care of everybody else, she was not my mom. Like, you know, she wasn't able to just be a mom. And she was so tired, but it was all meant to be. But yeah, I definitely think that I had to separate myself from the nucleus, from the family, in order to kind of, really get a lot of my questions that I had resolved. And it wasn't a textbook that helped resolve it. It was just me getting to know myself, having the space to mature, and then coming back into the system and me seeing it completely different this time around. Yeah. Yeah.
That's so true. I think what I didn't have the words for, and I didn't have the words for until I was in my 40s, which is scary. It's scary to think about it. I didn't have the understanding of generational trauma. I didn't have the understanding of how passing of you talk about culture and talk about where you grew up, how the passing of certain types of behaviors from generation to generation, and it's normalized until someone says, stop, it's not normal. Like, no. And when you understand that, you understand the why of somebody else's behavior, I think, the why of why this happened. And so I get the anger part, like I'm mad. I wanted this instead. And understanding the why behind why they couldn't give it to you.
Right.
I think that's so important. So I just, I love that. I feel like we've been at church today, Jay.
I know. I know.
I'm gonna tell you
well,
right
I got
now.
Some scripture in. I got a little bit of everything. I got to
tell you right now. Well, Philippians is a good book, and so I'm tell you right now, right there. Well, okay. So I'm going to tell you, we could keep we're like besties with Cleo forever. I can't believe that we're kind of at our time where it's time for.
Wow. I went that fast.
Sister questions. We love sister questions.
I know.
Cleo is also a sister. She just doesn't know that she's been. Everybody gets taken into the Elliott sister. You're like, yeah, you're a sister. You got to know. And of course, you've got more sisters. So appropriate.
Like there's so many.
I know. We're like, ah. So, Jay, what is your sister question for Miss Cleo?
So I need clinical advice. I'm so glad.
Oh, Lord. Well, she is
okay.
110,000% qualified.
She's like, this is going to cost you $500 an hour.
No, she has pro bono work every now and then.
Oh, I love it. So you talk about doing that self-check-in, Cleo. What is your best advice for somebody out there that says, hey, something's off? What's your self-check-in when you do it? What's your favorite sort of What's your method? What's one of your favorites when you do that check-in?
Yes. Great question. It's really simple. It's called Take a Minute. So basically for 60 seconds, you sit in silence, you focus on breathing in and out, and you think about a favorite memory. So it could be going to the beach. It could be a place. It could be a person. It could be a thing. 60 seconds is all it takes to kind of reset your body. All you do is just sit in a chair, sit on a couch. Even if you're standing, you can stand. It's just 60 seconds just to kind of focus on breathing in and out, and then thinking about something that you enjoy. And believe it or not, that 60 seconds, because you're kind of regrounding yourself, it will feel like 5 minutes. But yeah, it's just called Take a Minute. And you can do it as often as you can throughout the day.
I'm going to tell you that is.
I'll be back in a minute. It was a rough morning, Cleo. Not with you, but I got up at like 5:30. It was a rough morning. So I'll be back in a minute. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. It's all those bug bites. She's going to have words with. We call that Take a Minute. Could be words with Jesus as well. Like, Jesus, why are there so many bugs in North Carolina right now? But don't worry, she's going back to Florida, and there's a lot of bugs there too. So,
oh my goodness!
Yes, so her struggle is real.
Sorry. Thank you, Cleo.
I love that.
You're
Take
welcome.
a Minute is fantastic, and you're exactly right. It's and the other thing I think that's important to know, it can be uncomfortable. At first, it can totally be uncomfortable. It's very unsettling because you're taking that for yourself. So if you feel discomfort around that, that's okay. Right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely. One of the things that I do, and I have done in the past with leading large teams, oftentimes especially in the new world of virtual work, you jump from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting. You never get a time to decompress. And so one of the things that I've started doing with some of the teams is taking a minute. So before we start to jump into the next conversation, we literally put like a picture up on the screen, and everybody sits in silence. You turn off your camera. You're not allowed to text. You cannot Teams message somebody or message somebody, check an email. Like literally 60 seconds, everybody's quiet. And at first, a lot of people were like, wow, that was really uncomfortable. Are we sure that was only 60 seconds? Because we're not used to just pausing. Like, it sounds so simple, but we are in today's world, we're not used to for 60 seconds being still.
Yeah, that's going to be hard for me. I got to tell you, I'll be like wiggling.
Okay. This is the last 2-minute drill right here. What is your favorite guilty pleasure? Because you already know mine, clearly. It's a Hallmark and a cruise.
All righty. My guilty pleasure is twerking.
Yes. Yes.
Your kids gotta love that.
Your boys are gonna be like, there was this one time that my mom was on a podcast and she said she liked to twerk. Okay, so
I love twerking. I will get in a mirror and I turn on some music and I would twerk my little heart away.
See, I do that like kitchen dancing, get the vacuum. So I can see you doing that house cleaning, you're like, hey.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Especially when nobody's at home. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, I know your husband loves it.
I randomly would twerk in front of him and he just, like I told you, he has his face. He just looks at me like, here she goes again.
We will have bonus content of Cleo. She will be giving examples of how to twerk.
No, I can't do that.
No. It's good try. Okay, fine.
All
right. So, you know what?
I did have an idea of like twerk therapy though. Like I'm still like formulating it.
That's great.
That's like pole dancing. I'm just saying and not getting paid. So I'm going to tell you, well, you know what? I know that our time has come to an end, but Cleo, we absolutely love you. Thank you so much for imparting your words of wisdom and sharing your caregiver experience with us and just coming here and being so authentic. Cause I know this is such an important topic and you're just wonderful. We just love you.
Thank you so much.
And so everybody, thank you so much for listening. And until the next time, when we come back to confess again, thanks so much.